There came at first an epic wind, and I think it was my fear. I had a ticket, I had a bet. When I entered into it, I became a god in a chariot. As I climbed and peaked, I felt the rattling bones of the carriage beast. I climbed upward on its spine, then inside its throat, its heart, surging toward a childhood dream. If I plunge into the pulse of wonder, let me do so reaching upward. Let me live touching air.
When you stand in front of one of the Coney Island roller coasters and you look up the roller coaster and you hear the roller coaster, you can feel the roller coaster, the vibrations of the ride. And at the same time, in front of you, you have a poem about this very roller coaster, about the emotions that the roller coaster inspires in people. You sort of arrive at a feedback loop where the emotions created by Coney Island are poured into a literary text, and this literary text then pours these emotions back out to the reader, who can simultaneously experience all these emotions that have inspired the poem as well. So you have this feedback loop that the poetry map created by Amanda Deutch creates.
As a child, I would wander the Coney Island boardwalk, off season, alone. On a blue banana seat bicycle, past the splendid decay of abandoned rides and bathhouses, rusting and splintering skeletons left to weather. In air heavy with ocean and ghosts, I fell in love with the parachute jump. I fell in love with the ruin of it. I fell in love with the desolation. Its one gigantic eye looming atop a tapered hexagram tower, a terrifying and beautiful deity of decay, a wishing place, a windy place, a haunted place. It carried me away, away from my awkward shyness and sadness. The terrible, beautiful sight of it freed me from myself and carried me far, far away.
Many contemporary poets have written about Coney Island, and I really want people to see Coney Island as more than an amusement destination, but also a place that has been the source of inspiration for literature and poetry. This is the Coney Island poetry map. I sought out poets mostly who were from Brooklyn or from New York City, and poets who I knew had some connection to Coney Island or an interest in Coney Island. Many of the poets had already performed at some of our live events in the past, like Poemarama, which is on the Wonder Wheel. In 2015, we had poets perform in the white cars of the Wonder Wheel. So the idea is that you may encounter one of the poems on your way to the grocery store or on your way to go to the basketball court. And that it may kind of bring some joy to your day. However, it was also brought to my attention that some people may not be able to walk around to all of them, and so this way you have all of the poems in one place. They're here and on the other wall, and I call that the Coney Island Poetry Wall. All of the poems are placed either in public park locations or at family-owned businesses. No corporations, just family-owned businesses, like Dino's Wonder Wheel is family-owned. And I approached the businesses and just said, I have a poem we'd like to place here. And we did that in collaboration with them.
I would rather be under the wonder than on Twitter or Facebook or Tumblr. It's here that I hear poetry in the clouds, see fantastical beings in the crowds. I would rather be under the wonder.
What I think is very interesting about the work of Amanda Deutch and Parachute Literary Arts is that in all of their projects, they try to bring back Coney Island literature to the place that inspired it, to Coney Island, and back to the place that inspired it in the first place. And so visitors to Coney Island now have the extraordinary opportunity to explore not just the place itself, but also the various dreams and the various nightmares that this place inspired in writers and poets.
This poem by Filomena Morano was typed on a typewriter under the Wonder Wheel, and I asked her if we could take the typewritten poem and make a banner of it. Carol Lipnik grew up in Coney Island and is a performer and a singer, and so I reached out to Carol. Tina Chang I invited because I knew she had been the Brooklyn Poet Laureate. A father wrote me to say that his 11-year-old son had been inspired by the poems and wrote his own. Kurt Boone had read for us at Poemarama, and when I approached Kurt, this was a moment of synchronicity. Kurt said, "Oh, I'm also a photographer, and I've been doing a project on the handball courts, so I'd like to write a poem about the handball courts." And since the project is place-based and site-responsive, it was perfect. So we have this poem, New York City Handball, about the West 5th Street handball courts here, but also on the handball courts.
Coney Island has inspired a lot of different artworks, both in the United States and abroad, in a variety of different media. But literature is, I would say, among the most prominent ones. Coney Island has inspired and has served as the setting of not only plays, but also short stories, novels, experimental texts that connect theoretical reflection and also autobiographical encounters with Coney Island. One of the most interesting things about Coney Island is that it was one of the first sites that immigrants to the United States got to see. People often talk about the Statue of Liberty, but even before that, before the ships that brought immigrants to the United States arrived at the Statue of Liberty, people got to see Coney Island. And so for a lot of people, a lot of immigrants, Coney Island came to be their first sight of the United States of America.
Beats on the boardwalk, my voice catches on a wave. Carried on a seagull's wing, it circles above sand, above the dazzle of mermaids and laughter, before it lands on shore. Bodies move in buzzing hives, making neon music. Carousel of tables and counters, clinking glasses over bright voices. Carnival of ice cream and corn dogs. Cold soda sloshing in a glass. The sound of communion, edging closer together, past and future tangled in embrace, drunk on summer air.